So Giratina. I mean, this Pokemon really doesn't need much of an introduction. You either love it a lot or you hate it. Me personally, I used it a lot in Season 1 and in the preseason. I loved using the Lapras Giratina core. That was my favorite core to use. And just because Giratina is such a strong save switch, and it's just extremely powerful. Now, the reason why Giratina is so strong is because it's super tanky. It has a high defense and a high stamina stat. So, like, trying to kill this thing it takes a lot to kill Giratina Altered. The difficult thing about Gira A is that Giratina Altered, you probably don't have one. It's only come out a few times for PvP, or not for PvP, but like overall in raids. It's come out, I think, like 3 times, I believe. And in order to get a really good Giratina, you actually have to get it traded to you. So in order to get like rank 1 Giratina or anything like that, you actually need like a 1, like I don't know, like a 115, something like that. So in order to get a really good Giratina for PvP, you have to get it traded to you. You can raid for it and get like a 10, 15, 15, but ideally to get a really good one, you need to raid it, and then you need someone to trade a really good one to you. Or hope you get a good one, because trading is random. Like I mentioned, Giratina has an extremely high defense and attack stat. Or not defense and stamina stat. So it's extremely tanky. That's why it's really good. Along with that, it has really good moves. It has really good movesets. So that combination of bulk plus really great moves makes Giratina a monster. Now it doesn't come without its weaknesses. It's weak to Dark, Dragon, Fairy, Ghost, Ice. In other words, Gyarados with Dragon Breath, Dragonites with Dragon Breath, those Amuks that are running around, and those Obstagoon with Night Slashes. You got plenty of Charmers in the Ultra meta, and you also have Drifblim, you have Gengar, and you have opposing Giratina Altereds that are trying to kill you with Ghost-type moves. And you also have Ice, so your Articunos and Laprases are also there as well. So even though Giratina is a very powerful pick, it also has a lot of weaknesses. So generally, you want to keep them away from you want to keep Gira away from all of these. But it doesn't come without a lot of resistances. So you do resist fighting, you resist normal, bug, electric, fire, grass, and water. So all of the elemental things that you carry with dragon type resistances, it's really good. So that's why Charizards, things like Ampharos, Magnezones, grass types like Venusaur, there's a lot of things that you resist. You even resist things like Poison Jab, and water types like Empoleon, you actually resist those as well. So Gira A doesn't come without a lot of weaknesses, and coupled with its bulk, it can even survive since it's so tanky, it can actually survive quite a bit of damage from its weaknesses. Now, Giratina A, like I said, extremely hard to get. You kind of have to get it. You can only get it from raids, and it's really expensive. It costs 100 grand to power it up for its second move, and remember what I mentioned, like it's max. So for the perfect IV, it's 2510. So you're gonna spend around 24 or 26. So it's about, like, I would say probably you're gonna spend a good 200 plus K dust trying to power one up. But it's really strong. It has Dragon Breath, one of the best fast move in the game. Pretty much the best fast and most overpowered fast move in the entire game. And it also has Shadow Claws. Well, it has Dragon Claw too, but it has Shadow Claw. So Shadow Claw generates energy really quickly. And Dragon Breath has 2 of the strong, a fast energy generation fast move, and also incredibly hard hitting fast move. Along with that, Dragon Claw is really spammy. You can, especially coupled with Dragon Claw. I mean, with Dragon Claw and Shadow Claw, you'll fire a lot of those out. Ancient Power used to be really good, but nowadays the optimal moveset is really Dragon Claw and Shadow Sneak. Shadow Sneak actually allows you to beat Registeel in the 2 shield, and also Shadow Sneak also gets stabbed since Giratina is a ghost type. So Shadow Sneak, like all of its movesets with the exception of Ancient Power, was viable. Back in season 1, before Ancient Power got nerfed, it was actually a good moveset for Giratina Altered because you can actually use 2 Ancient Powers back in the day can actually kill Togekiss. And you can actually cover its weaknesses against Lapras, etc. with Ancient Power. But because of the debuff to Ancient Power, unless you get the boost, it's not worth it. So the optimal moveset is either Dragon Breath, Shadow Claw, and then Dragon Claw or Shadow Sneak. Alright, so overall, Gira A is a freaking beast. I mean, if you didn't know that, you probably figured that out either this season or like the past 3 seasons. So Giratina Altered is strong everywhere. You'll see in the lead a lot. You also see in the closer. You also see in the switch. It's actually probably been consistently one of the best switches in the entire game, just because of its ability to take shields and do heavy damage. Like, this thing is going to either one, take both shields, or it's going to leave the opposing mon, even if it's like Togekiss, like half alive. That's how like oppressive Giratina A is. So Giratina A is really strong against elemental Pokemon. You're even strong against Poliwrath just because even though they throw Ice Punch at you, they don't get stabbed, so same type attack bonus. So since they don't get stabbed, you don't win. You actually even beat Registeel in the 2 shield just going straight Shadow Sneak. Actually, you have to bait with like 2 Dragon Claws, I believe. But as long as you land, like I think if you bait 1 and then you just Shadow Sneak the rest, you win. And it's kind of interesting because you actually beat Swampert. You beat Swampert, it just depends on how the game goes, because the Swampert needs to land Earthquake to beat Giratina. If it doesn't land it, it sucks. You're even strong against Cresselia. Like I said, these 2 matchups are really dependent on like how the game goes. So it has amazing amounts of play. Even against its weaknesses like even though it's weak to all of these, it can, like I said, it's gonna either leave something half dead or like take shields. Either one. And that's Gira A. In the lead, Gira A ranks at number 60. The O version works better. You'll still see the A a lot. I've seen the A a lot in like every consistent lead just because it's really strong, especially if you win the lead. And in any position, Giratina A is really strong. In the closer scenario, Giratina A doesn't really rank that great either, but it's still really good. In the closing scenario, you beat Cresselia in the closing scenario. You beat Cresselia, and it's just nuts at like what you beat with Gira A in like some positions. Now, of course, it's the number 1 switch. Why? It's because it's able to take out Cresselia. It's able to take out pretty much all of the relevant meta. And even though you lose against things like Lapras, Articuno, etc., like I said, you're either going to leave something half dead or you're going to take shields. And that's what Gira A offers you as a switch. Alright, so here's the matrix for Gira A. I'm going to keep it short and sweet. I'm not going to go too in-depth into it. Gira A, both versions are really good. So you can use the regular version, you can use the Shadow Claw or the Dragon Breath version. It's really up to you, but depending on what you use, you'll flip matchups. So here's the meta right here. Here's the meta right here for Ultra League. And then here's the 2 sheet. So Gira in the lead, like I said, it's not bad at all. As you see, the Dragon Breath version beats Obama Snow. You beat a lot of elemental leads with the Dragon. You beat a lot of elemental leads, but depending which moveset you use, you actually flip matchups. So in the 2 shield with the Shadow Claw, Dragon Claw, Shadow Sneak, I put both the Ancient Power version. Ancient Power got nerfed, if you're not aware, so it's crap. Unless you get the boost, you pretty much lose most scenarios. So just keep that in mind. If you have Ancient Power, you're going to lose a lot. Dragon Claw and Shadow Sneak is the way to go. And then you have Shadow Claw and Dragon Breath. Shadow Sneak is the way to go. As you see here, if you don't have Shadow Sneak, you actually lose against Cresselia. And the reason why you beat Cresselia with Dragon Breath or like Dragon Breath is just because Dragon Breath is so oppressive. So you beat Cresselia in the lead. That's one relevant mod that you will see in the lead a lot. You'll beat Empoleon in the lead. So you'll beat Empoleon as well. Now, opposing Giratina Altereds in the lead will lose. You'll go neutral against Shadow Claws. However, if you go against, so this is the Shadow Claw variation right here. The Dragon Breath one actually beats the Shadow Claw. So if you see the lead and you see they have Dragon Breath, but you're running Shadow Claw, just be careful because you can lose. All variations beat Giratina Origins just because of your bulk. So Gira A's bulk is what allows it to beat Giratina Origins. You beat Machamps, you beat Meganiums, you even beat Melmetal. So if you have the Dragon Breath variation, you will lose against Melmetal. If you have the Shadow Claw, you beat Melmetal. So that's why it's really important to decide which one you want to use. If you want to use Giratina A in the lead, I would recommend like looking at your team and seeing what you need to cover as far as what Shadow Claw and Dragon Breath doesn't cover. Because like I said, as you see here, Shadow Claw beats Melmetal, and the Dragon Breath variant beats the mirror. So it really is just up to you what you want to do. Just make sure you like look at your team and decide what you want to do. Along with the Dragon Breath version, the Shadow Claw variation gets walled by Amok and Obstagoon. So because of that, if you see, and I've seen a lot of Obstagoon leads the few times I've accidentally ran into Ultra Lead. You'll see a lot of Obstagoon, and some Amoks are still running around. The Dragon Breath version fixes this. So that's one way the Dragon Breath version flips matchups. If you see the other way around, the Shadow Claw variation, so to put it in a nutshell, the Shadow Claw variation flips Steel matchups, which are more relevant than the Dark matchups. That's why it's really important to see what you cover and what you don't cover, because depending on what you need coverage for, you might find yourself in a really bad scenario, or you might actually just like comfortably sweep the competition. It's really up to you. Now that's the 2 shield. Now in the 1 shield, it's really good. In the 1 shield, you will actually Giratina A is a monster still, but it does start losing some we'll start losing some matchups. For example, you lose against like a Dragonite, you lose against both the versions of Bombstone as well as Articuno, no matter which version you use. You'll still beat Empoleon, Excavalier, you beat Gengar just because of bulk. And then this is where the Dragon Breath version shines. In the 1 shield, you'll beat Gira A and you'll beat Gira O. You'll also beat Licky Licky, and the Dragon Breath variation in the 1 shield flips matchups. Now, it actually flips more relevant matchups with the Dragon Breath version than it does with the Shadow Claw version. This is why I said, like, deciding what you want to use really matters. As you see here, you actually lose against Swampert in the 1 shield. If they can bait you with Hydro Cannon, then the Earthquake will kill you. So, with that being said, the Dragon Breath variation actually just destroys Swampert. The Dragon Breath variation actually flips Shiftry, Snorlax, and Swampert. That's pretty big. At least these two. So Snorlax and Swampert are pretty popular in Ultra League. I wouldn't say Snorlax, but Swampert definitely is, but flipping that matchup in the 1 shield really matters. Again, they have to hit you with a Hydro Cannon. With the matchup with Swampert, they must beat you with a Hydro Cannon. So if they go straight Hydro Pump, they lose. Or hit straight Hydro Cannon, they're going to lose. So just keep that in mind. So the Swampert matchup with the Shadow Claw variation isn't that bad. Like I said, they have to land an Earthquake to kill you. Otherwise, they lose. It's really up to you and just how you want to play it. And now in the closer, Giratina A is really good as well. Now if you're in a closer, I'd be careful just because in the closer you do lose a lot of matchups. Like, for example, you lose against Articuno, you lose against Clefable, you lose against Feraligatr, you lose against opposing Gear A's, Granbull, Lapras, etc. So like, I wouldn't say like what I mean by a lot is like a lot of the meta. For example, Registeel is one of them. You'll lose against Amok just because Amok just destroys you. Swampert then takes your soul into zeros because all it has to do is just go straight Earthquake. Now, this is where Dragon Breath and Shadow... Now, if you're using the Dragon Breath variation, as you see here, the Dragon Breath variation actually flips some things. For example, Dragon Breath will beat Gira A. So you'll beat the mirror in the closer with Gira A with Dragon Breath. You'll also beat Armored Mewtwo. You'll also beat... Well, you can beat it with the regular version too, but you have a stronger matchup with Mewtwo. And you also beat Snorlax and Swampert. So like I said, because both variations flip so much, I would definitely take a look at what you want to cover, what you don't. Especially switching. If you switch and you know you need steel coverage, go with Shadow Claw. If you don't need steel coverage, which you probably should have, then you need then switch the other version. But like Gear A just covers so many roles. Now, if you're up shields, this is where Gear A is just an absolute beast. If you have shields, if you see here, with the Dragon Breath version, you beat a lot of matchups. you basically sweep almost the entire, well, not the entire map, but you lose against ice and basically what you're strong against. As you see, the Dragon Breath version will actually like be, you're gonna lose against Charmers. You're also gonna lose against Scizor just because Dragon Breath's resisted. But as you see here, with a shield, Gira A is a monster. You flip a ton of matchups. You beat probably 75% or more of the meta if you're up a shield with Gira A. Now, if you're up 2 shields, if you get in this position, you are a very lucky person in Ultra League. Well, not really. It's actually really possible to go up 2 shields, but in the 2 shield scenario, you'll only lose against Charmers. You beat everything but Charmers, because Charmers just charm you down. You beat Togekiss, you beat Gramble, you also beat Clefable. You lose against Togekiss, Gramble, and Clefable. So up 2 shields, you will beat everything in the meta. Doesn't matter. Except for Charmers. Now, I say except for Charmers because Togekiss is still running around rampant, so I would just be careful. Just be careful with that. But that's Giratina A in a nutshell. Like I said, make sure you understand what you flip with Shadow Claw and Dragon Breath because it does matter which one you pick. So in summary, freaking Gira A is really freaking strong. Especially as a switch. I used it in Season 1 in the preseason as a switch. Almost like I loved it in the switch position. Lapras and Gira A took me to rank 10 in Season 1 and in Season 2 as well. So I love the Lapras Gira core and it was amazing. And I loved it and I used it a lot. So Lapras Giratina is kind of, it's still good, but it's kind of not good because Excavalier came out and there's a bunch more counter users, but it's still really good. Like Lapras Gira core is still amazing. So, like I said, I'm going to use a Shadow Claw variant, but the Shadow Claw and the Dragon Breath variation does matter when you switch. For example, so just keep that in mind. When you use Gira A, it's best used as a switch in my opinion because it can take back a lot of matchups, but you can also lose a lot of matchups. So it's really up to you. If you do use it as a switch, just keep in mind, like I said, what you win against and what you lose against. So if you lose, you can actually create a lot of scenarios where you can farm down with Gira O. As you see here, I'm gonna try to do that with Cresselia. I'm gonna try to juke this Cresselia and try to Ice Beam because you do need to get one Ice Beam in. And here's the funny thing about Gira A. Gira A actually doesn't die to one. It takes 2 Ice Beams to kill Gira A. That's how thick Gira A is. So one of the advantages about Gira A is that it's so thick that even if like you can leave the opponent that's like on the switch, like I said, either half dead or they have to like basically blow their energy. And also back at like Gira A used to have Ancient Power used to have play. But I wouldn't use Ancient Power. Like I said, don't use Ancient Power. Back in the day, Ancient Power actually provided some like coverage. For example, you could actually kill Togekiss, but because it got nerfed, that's not the case anymore. So just keep that in mind. Cresselia is gonna go Future Sight. This is where I say like Giratina is gonna create a lot of like farm down scenarios. 1, 2, 3. Like this Cresselia will never get to another Future Sight or Moonblast. And now we're in the 2 shield scenario, and we have energy lead against a Registeel. Now, we win the 2 shield against a Registeel, which is pretty nuts. You do lose, that's one of the matchups that Gira A does flip. Because we have that energy lead with that farm down scenario, we can actually just go straight Shadow Sneak, even if this Registeel does decide to block anything. So that's what makes Gira A so nuts in the switch scenario is just you can create so many advanced plays with it, it's ridiculous. So but along with that, there are a lot of strategies that do target Gira A. For example, Togekiss will as you saw in the Sims, it doesn't matter how many shields you have, Gira like all Charmers are basically just super strong against Giratina A. You'll want to keep Gira A away from Charmers as much as possible. If you can't do that, then it's going to be really risky. But other than that, Gira A is it's just amazing as a switch. We didn't quite lose lead, but then like I said, there's a lot of scenarios where you can create like switch like claw down situations, etc. Or like Shadow Claw down, Shadow Dragon Breath down. You can do what I did right here, where you create this kind of play. But that just like look at this. We took 2 flash cannons, and we're about to take both shields. I'm gonna shield this just because I want to take both shields, or I want to win. I just want to win this matchup. So we're gonna be able to. I can get 2 Dragon Claws and just back to back. So and a good advantage because Shadow Claw generates energy so fast. You could actually stack, like, you could stack Dragon Claws to Oblivion, and it just does so much damage. As you see here, we get a Swampert in the back, and because Gira A is so tanky, you can actually, I can actually get to another Dragon Claw. Watch, I'll actually get to another one. Oh, actually I don't. Never mind. That's IV dependent. Never mind. Never mind. That survey said that was in fact not the case. So, well, we wouldn't. Yeah, yeah. You can't if you play. Yeah, yeah. Never mind. I thought you could, but you can't. Never mind. You can't. You can't actually get to it. You can't actually get to it in that scenario. So we're gonna actually get to an earthquake here. Earthquake should KO this opposing Swampert since we're up a shield, even though it has energy lead. Because we had that shield. Actually, it doesn't KO. Never mind. That's the Shadow version. Shadow Swampert will actually KO in this scenario. Now, this Swampert, I think Swampert wins just because it gets to Earthquake. No, it doesn't. Okay, never mind. This is how you can tell you've been so far removed from Ultra League that you have no idea what's going on. Actually, I use Shadow Swampert a lot more than regular Swampert, so it's really weird to have regular Swampert. Regular Swampert's Earthquake will KO in that scenario. Can KO in that scenario. So yeah, just keep in mind, just like Shadow variations, etc. Never, I hope Giratina A never gets a Shadow. If we get Shadow Legendaries and Gira A is a Shadow, like, I'm pretty sure that's a nightmare. Now, this is a good showcase of how Gira A is kind of a liability. You see here we get an Obstagoon lead. This is bad just because this Obstagoon will essentially not completely wall our Gira, but it has such a strong matchup against it. We want to keep it away from it. So I'm going to go straight Surf here. I want to do as much chip damage as I can against this Obstagoon because we're going to send Swampert in. And then this is where it gets really... Oh, we actually grab a shield. That's really great. So it's really tricky to use Gira in this current day meta. If you want me to give you if I would say Gira is still, like I said, it's the best safe switch for sure. The problem is it's just compared to the other seasons, Gira A does have more checks like Obstagoon. Obstagoon will check you really hard, so then just keep that in mind. I should have surfed over there, so that, but nah, that's okay. Yeah, that's okay. We're gonna have to Hydro Cannon down anyways. Oh, we get a Cresselia! Oh, this is good! Watch what, this is where it gets kind of nuts. Because we're gonna save, I should have Earthquaked here, but that's okay. Here's a showcase of just how tanky Gira A is. Look at that. It doesn't even do half damage. Now we're going to end up shielding the rest of everything just because I don't want Gira A to take too much damage. We should be able to just Shadow Claw and Shadow Sneak down. But ironically, this is where Dragon Breath actually does a lot more work, even though it's super effective, which is kind of weird. Like I said, remember Shadow Claw or Dragon Breath will flip matchups. So just keep that in mind. This is a good example of like how like Cresselia and this of how like Gira Altered is just a beast up shields. Remember, we win all scenarios except Charmers, so we're pretty confident here. The thing I kind of don't like is I kind of did one bad because I didn't. Oh, yeah, we just lose. Yeah, this is where Charmers. I mean, we're gonna Shadow Sneak the Togekiss. It's just we don't want Charmers to go against us. Along with that, Togekiss sucks. Shadow Swampert will KO, but like this is where everything gets really tricky because, like I said, Charmers suck. Charmers really suck. I'm going to get to close to another one. The charm damage does so much that you just want to be... Yeah, charm damage does so much that even if you're up 2 shields, you will lose. Which is pretty nuts. Fortunately, this is where Swampert comes in because Swampert in the back just cleans up. And we're going to shield this, and then all we have to do is just basically make sure we just get enough energy to make sure we just land that Hydro Cannon on this Obstagoon, and then that's GG's. So we're just going to get two Hydro Cannons here. Fire 1 and then Fire 2, and then that should be GG's. But that's just where, like as you see, Gira A can tank so much damage. If you want Gira A to take some if you want Gira A to basically, like, Gira A is really good too, just because of sack scenarios. So you could actually sack Gira A in a lot of scenarios because of its bulk. The problem is with the game being so broken right now, you can't do that. So you can't sack Gira A, which kind of sucks. I wish you could, but yeah, you can't actually sack Gira A. Now Gira A is so tanky, it'll actually live a Night Slash from an Obstagoon, even though it has stab. Watch, it actually lives this, which is pretty nuts. And then we'll be able to get to a Dragon Claw, and then that's GG's. As you see here, even if it's hard checked, you can still have play. There's still win conditions. Just be aware of like what you need to. Even though they had 2 hard checks to Gira A was able to take down the Cresselia and take down the Cresselia and then finish off the Obstagoon. So as you see, Gira A is just a monster in all positions. Best used as a switch. Like I said, you could switch it in, but even if you don't switch it in, it's really freaking good. Now I'm gonna actually try to like. All right, so here I'm gonna demonstrate Gira A as a switch. I put Excavalier to lose the lead for sure. So we're going to get Lapras versus Excavalier and then Swampert Cresselia. So as you see, I'm going to start the battle and then we're going to switch. And this is going to demonstrate just how Gira A is like the best safe switch. You lose lead against Excavalier, you switch into your Dragon here. Now, because a lot of teams have Swampert, my opponent switches into Swampert. You also have Cresselia, so a lot of teams also feature Cresselia, so that's why I put Cresselia and Swampert together. As you see, we lose the lead, but we were able to just literally straight Dragon Claw the Swampert to Oblivion. The Swampert, even if the Swampert does land an Earthquake, we're okay. But like I mentioned, best safe switch. Because as you see here, if your opponent has Cresselia or like here, watch how look how much damage even though it takes half damage from the Earthquake, that's fine. We're going to win Switchback, and then we can line our Swampert with their Excavalier. So overall, it really worked out because look how much damage that does, and you don't have to shield. You don't even have to shield this incoming Hydro Cannon. Hydro Cannon won't actually kill you at this range. We'll be left in the red, which is kind of nuts, but yeah. As you see here, Swampert gets back switch. And we get a Cresselia, which is great because now we can just absolutely wreck you. As you see, Psycho Claw doesn't do a lot of damage. Giratina gave a switchback, and it absolutely dominated. If your opponent doesn't have a hard answer against Gira as a switch, as you see here, you take a very dominant. You can come back from a very hard losing lead to just a very dominant position. And because it's so thick, as you see here, you can actually deal heavy damage against what's in the back. As you see, we took Cresselia. We took out that whole Swampert, and Cresselia is left with half of its HP, which is really nuts. It would be, yeah, it's pretty nuts just how like it operates. We get the switch into Excavalier. I'm getting a little more energy here. We'll let Excavalier hit us because no matter what Excavalier throws at us, it's not going to be super effective. But this just demonstrates just how strong Gira A is as a switch. As you see, we lost the lead. But you could do so much damage if they can't hard check if they don't hard check your switch. Along with that, as you see, we managed to do your A just does so much damage. It's just so oppressive. It's just so oppressive. Like I said, if your opponent doesn't have a hard check against Gira A, it's just a monster to go against, and it's not a good time. As you see here, we haven't even expended any of our shields yet, but we're gonna able to just farm down this Excavalier, and we could just super dominant match, even though we lost the lead. So if your opponent does have an answer against Gira A, you're able to just annihilate with Gira A. It's just nuts just how powerful it is. Now all you have to do is just Earthquake here, and you get the W, and we win with a shield. Actually, we don't win with a shield. I'm just gonna expend I'm just not gonna risk it, or we're just gonna go straight for the Earthquake, and that's GG's. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. You guys have a great day. I think I did a lot more battling simulations than I wanted to, but I just really wanted to showcase just how Gira A is just such a monster in like all positions. As you see here, as a switch, we got what did we debuff? We did debuff, so I'm gonna combo in and finish you off. Bye, Felicia. But yeah, you guys have a great day. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like I said, Gira A is really hard to get, so especially nowadays. So if you want to build one now, it's really strong. Even if it has bad IVs, it can still really rock the meta. if you see here, the one we simmed with actually doesn't have like the best stats. It's 7, 10, 9. So it's still pretty high IV. Like I said, you could still make a high IV Giratina work. Try to get 10, 15, 15 as much as possible. Other than that, that Giratina still works really well in Ultra League. Again, you guys have a wonderful day. I will see you on my next video.